Ladies and gentlemen, dear experts, welcome to this ScholarCP Training of Trainers course. This sequence is on create a case study and use it in training. In this sequence, we're going to cover 4 points. 1. What is a case study? 2. Advantages and disadvantages of case studies. 3. How do I create a case study? And 4. How to use this technique. A case study allows you to apply your knowledge, to analyze specific situations, to solve specific problems. A case study provides a description of a complex situation based on real facts. This situation takes place in a context close to the daily realities of the participants in the training. The proposed situation allows for different interpretations by participants, makes different decisions possible, has different consequences. Example in terms of management, an investment decision to be taken to invest or repair an agricultural machine. The case may be in the form of a text, description of a situation, a business, an image, an accident or a behavior, or a film depicting agricultural or hygiene practices, accompanied by more or less numerous annexes such as figures, tables, interviews. The information made available must present the situation to be studied, the problem to be solved, the actors in the situation, and if necessary, the event that caused the problem. The work that participants carry out must include analysis of the situation, interpretation and evaluation of data, a decision to be made, an action plan to be carried out. The case study involves exploring and analyzing the different sides of a problem. A case study should ideally have the following characteristics: authentic, unique, one case, involves diagnosis or decision making, adapted to the participants' analytical abilities, written in a clear and lively manner. The case presented to the learners must be concrete, and if it is fictitious, completely realistic in order to arouse their interest in analyzing it. A case study is usually conducted in a group setting. The group participates in the discussion, and its internal dynamics encourage multiple interactions. There is no standard solution. The learning arises from the situation by showing us that our opinions are not necessarily the best or even the only possible ones. Dialogue with peers through exchange, debate, or argument contributes to each individual's learning. The case study is based on 2 principles of learning: learn by trial and error, make use of participants' personal experiences to assess a situation and solve a problem. Participants are very active in building their knowledge. They have to draw on their previous knowledge and combine it with their newly acquired knowledge. We can identify 5 types of case study. 1. Case analysis. This type of case is complex and does not involve a clear-cut decision, such as an ethical issue, such as child labor, that deserves to be examined from different angles. 2. Case decision. The aim is to make the best possible decision, taking into account the analysis of the situation and the known data. 3. Critical incident. This involves making a decision in an emergency, even with only partial knowledge of the theoretical data, traceability problem, soil pollution, or work accident, for example. This type of case can be used prior to a theoretical presentation in order to bring out previous knowledge and understanding. 4. Incomplete case. This type of case is deliberately incomplete to lead learners to define the missing data in order to arrive at a fairer solution. 5. Sequential or chronological case. This is presented progressively in order to lead learners to revise their solutions as new elements are introduced. Advantages and disadvantages of case studies. Advantages for participants. Promotes better application of the theoretical concept seen in training. Brings about confrontation of ideas, which promotes open-mindedness and respect for opinion of others. Helps to approach a problem objectively, facts, rather than subjectively, bias. Promotes the development of problem-solving skills. Develops the ability to think critically and creatively. Develops the capacity for analysis, synthesis, and criticism. Allows for the integration of knowledge, which can be transferred to the work situation. Disadvantages for participants. Does not allow the consequences of proposed solutions, decisions as a result of their analysis of the case to be verified in action. Takes a long time to resolve a case. Some participants may be confused by this method. They must be trained and mentored beforehand to ensure that the subgroup collaboration is effective. Advantages for trainers. Represents an excellent method of integrating learning and encourages in-depth acquisition of techniques applied to concrete situations through discovery, reflection, experimentation. Helps to develop adaptability and a taste for realistic solutions. Solving a case is a training in decision-making, an invitation to action. Promotes teamwork. Disadvantages for the trainer. Requires a lot of work in writing a case, planning the activity, and facilitating exchanges in the subgroups. The description of the case, especially the presentation of factual data, can be laborious. Is useful information provided? Is it too detailed? The risk of getting lost in the multiple of information and details can make the exercise unformative, as the complexity of the proposed case will generate discussions and tensions within the group that can block the intended learning. Requires a great deal of involvement and expertise on the part of the trainer. The case must be precisely adapted to the level of the learners and to the learning objectives, and the duration of the activity must be calculated accurately. The role of guide and facilitator can be difficult to adopt at first. How do I create a case study? Writing a case. 1. Once the learning objectives are known, the typical situation must be chosen and described. Define names, places, describe the actors, circumstances, environment, facts, various interactions. 2. Write the text clearly and coherently, paying attention to the correct sequence of the information. 3. Conclude the case with a reminder of what is expected from the participants. Instructions. We expect you to, or questions they should answer. What are the gaps or mistakes you may identify? 4. When preparing the case study, it is also important to identify the content elements that will inform the case and the options chosen by participants during the debriefing. 10 tips for writing a case. 1. Write a detailed plan. 2. The key issues should be consistent with the objectives. They will be placed at the heart of the case. 3. Be concise. 5 to 10 pages maximum, including annexes. 4. Write clearly and attractively. The problem must be presented in such a way that it motivates the reader and makes them to feel concerned by the case. 5. Limit the use of technical jargon and explain unfamiliar terms. 6. Give the characters a substance. As far as possible, get actors in the case to talk and debate. 7. Limit the number and size of annexes. Avoid unnecessary detail. 8. Avoid inconsistencies and statistical errors. 9. Avoid artificially increasing complexity to make it real. 10. Set out the problem in a clear and detailed manner to guide the discussion of the case. How to use this technique? Facilitating the case study. Facilitating a case study generally takes place in 5 steps. Step 1. Presenting the case study by the facilitator. The case study is presented by answering 4 questions. 1. What's this all about? That is the summary description. 2. How was the case built? 3. What's it for? Objective of the activity. What is expected of the participants? Expected result. Make sure everyone understands the case study before moving on to step 2. Trying to gain a little time in this first step is the surest way to lose a lot of time in the following steps. Step 2. Forming subgroups. The size of the main group, such as 25 people, may require the formation of subgroups. Subgroups can be formed spontaneously if the case study does not require special technical skills. If the case refers to a specific technical background, facilitators should organize the subgroups to try and achieve homogeneous groups and allow the participation of everyone in the case analysis. Step 3. Working in subgroups. While the subgroups are working, the facilitator circulates around the subgroups to ensure that participants have a clear understanding of the work required and are doing the work. Don't fall behind. Don't get stuck on a difficulty. Work as a team, not individually. The facilitator remains available and is a resource for the subgroups. If necessary, the facilitator can provide tools needed to advance the subgroup's work. Step 4. Reporting by subgroups. To facilitate and speed up reporting, ensure that each group has support. Transparencies, paper, board, for example. It's important that the reporting should be by groups. This makes it more lively and making the members of subgroups more supportive forces for them to work together until the end. The reporting must be short. The report must be a summary, otherwise it will be tedious. Should be interactive. Other participants react and questions and thoughts. Relevant. The team must answer the questions that are asked very well. Clear. The position taken by the team must be expressed unambiguously. Argued. All options are admissible if they are argued well. Coherent. The different parts must form a whole, no gaps or redundancies. If the report of the second team is identical to the first on certain points, repetition should be avoided. The second team should be asked on which points it made different choices, and for identical choices, and whether the same arguments led to the same choices. Facilitators should encourage team to exploit about the reasons of their choices and shouldn't themselves pronounce on the options. Step 5. Summary and debriefing by the facilitator. Summarizing is the added value brought by the facilitator. The summary relies on the solutions proposed by the participants. Facilitators should summarize the options presented by the participants, enriching them with the reactions provoked by the presentations. The actual debriefing review of the activity can then begin. The key content points identified during presentation of the case study should be taken up in order to analyze the options chosen by the participants. For a technical case, the presenter must have adequate technical background, otherwise a co-facilitation with a person who has appropriate skills is required. Alternative step 5, wrap up and debriefing with a guest. An alternative to the usual arrangement is to involve a guest. This can be doubly interesting. On one hand, it spices up the preparation and contributes to emulation by the teams. On the other hand, it provides an expert during the debriefing. A few precautions should be taken. First of all, the guest must have fully understood and accepted the role the facilitator wants them to play, and must know the case fully beforehand. Next, the guest must abide by a few rules. 1. Avoid telling their life story. Focus on the case. 2. Value the work by the subgroups. 3. Provide added value on their comments or questions. It doesn't matter whether the guest agrees with the options presented by the participants. What matters is why they agree with them or not.